Hey guys, Swank Ivy here again with another Letters to an Asexual. This is number 45, and I'm going to read a relatively old one and also a relatively short one for you today. It actually touches on something that I haven't really quite covered in Letters to an Asexual. I'm sure that I've covered it in essays and rambles elsewhere, but so for number 45, I'm going to talk about the concept of reverse psychology. I got a letter that in part told me that they think maybe I'm subscribing to an asexual lifestyle just because so many people tried to change my mind, and now I feel like I have to be committed to it and I have to do the opposite of what everyone else expects me to do out of reverse psychology. So let me go ahead and start reading the conversation to you. So this was after I had posted I guess all of the videos in my original asexuality top 10, where I had outlined the top 10 most common objections people give me about asexuality. And this is, predating my whole Letters to an Asexual series. So, I mean, this is a good while back, but it was a response, I think, through the comments or maybe a private message from those. So this person was not entirely ignorant about it and seemed relatively respectful, but again had their own theory about how things have worked out. So this is what they had to say. First, I want to say very interesting. I am sad for you. But I do not feel sorry for you. I think it is too bad you cannot enjoy this part of being human. I hope it changes for you. I understand you're content in your life, but sex is a nice part of the experience. I have a couple of comments and questions. I hope I do not offend you. It is not at all my objective. You appear to be a very intelligent lady. I wonder if your lack of interest has anything to do with the fact that so many people tell you that something must be wrong with you. What I'm trying to say is, it is human nature to not like to be told what to do. So if I say you're crazy for not wanting to have sex, then your reaction is to dig your heels in. Also, I wonder if your intelligence is overpowering your animal instincts. Like I said above, you come across as out of the norm, a smart person. I guess a well above average IQ. I can think of no better analogy, and as I'm sure you know, the most powerful sexual organ in the human body is the mind. We must let our animal come out. I know that I have issues that make me uncomfortable in a sexual situation until I am very comfortable. I have a very hard time just turning my brain off and, pardon the expression, getting busy. I overthink and unable to have a good time. Sex is very frustrating and disheartening. I know my issue comes from my ex-wife and her making me feel bad about sex. Okay, one more question I saw in the top 10, that you have had sex. And you did touch on masturbation. Have you ever experienced an orgasm? This is a very personal question, and I understand if this is none of my business. And do you enjoy sensational touch, like a good massage? I know that these are not completely related, but if you enjoy a good massage, I personally find it interesting that you would not be interested in other types of sensational touch. Again, I want to say I really hope I'm not being nosy or demeaning in this email. I just wanted to add my comments. I wish you all the luck in the world, even if you do not ever find your exoticism. My response. Hi there, thanks for watching my videos and writing to me. Quote, I am sad for you, but I do not feel sorry for you. I think it's too bad you cannot enjoy this part of being human. I guess you can feel sad for me in the same way I can feel sad for everyone who's never written a novel. To each his own. Quote, I hope it changes for you. I understand you are content in your life, but sex is a nice part of the experience. I think of it more like scratching an itch. It's not going to be satisfying to scratch your arm if you aren't itching. Satisfying the urge to scratch is part of what makes scratching great. There isn't a way for me to deliberately seek out a mosquito to bite me. It just doesn't work that way. You can try to get things you want, but you can't make yourself want them. In other words, sex is a nice part of the experience, only if you want it in the first place. If you don't, it's not the same thing. And I will interject here outside of the letter that I have heard from some people who said, I didn't really care for it, but I enjoy engaging in that with a significant other. And, that's legit. If you enjoy some aspect of it that isn't really about your own personal pleasure, or maybe you found some kind of personal pleasure that you didn't crave in the first place, but found it was great when you decided to go for it, that's a thing. But it's also equally valid to feel that it's just not something that seems like it would be valuable to you. Like, I don't want a relationship. I don't want that kind of closeness with another person. I've never developed a situation where another person is appealing like that to me, and thinking about the realistic possibility of doing that with them sort of leans away from neutral and into negative for me. I just don't feel good about it. It doesn't seem appealing at all. So it's a very personal decision if you want to make that part of your life. It's not just something that you have to want before you get it. I understand that. But, that's still a pretty good analogy if you want to say that scratching an itch is very different from just scratching when you don't have an itch. Quote, I hope I do not offend you. It is not at all my objective. You appear to be a very intelligent lady. In general, it doesn't offend me if people want to ask questions as long as they're polite about it. And I'll interject here again. It really kind of bothers me that this person keeps harping on me being intelligent, like as if I wasn't particularly smart or something, then the situation would be different, and that it would be more allowable for people to tell me what I should want and try to steamroll my will or something like that. It almost feels condescending. I feel like maybe the person didn't intend that, but the fact that they kept reassuring me that, yes, you're intelligent, you're smart, I get it, you've probably reasoned this all out, but listen to what I have to say. It's like they thought if they didn't reassure me that I'm smart, that I would counter with this counter psychology kind of thing that they seem to think is going on. And it's like, whether I'm smart is irrelevant to this. So anyway, moving on. Quote, I wonder if your lack of interest has anything to do with the fact that so many people tell you that something must be wrong with you, blah, 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 you dig your heels in. My response, you just want to be different. While I respect the power of reverse psychology, and minored in psych myself, incidentally, no, I can say with some certainty that that's not going on with me. I'm a very open-minded person, but I'm also in touch with myself, and I can tell you what I like and don't like and exactly why. If people I trust say something is great, my first inclination is to believe them. I'm not one of those people who just rebels against anything that's popular or well-liked. It doesn't make sense, and in fact I tend to get even more irritated at people who do that than I do at people who follow all the trends, because the counterculture folks sometimes seem to think they're on a higher level and really enjoy lording that over others. I don't understand it, and I don't see what purpose there would be for me to do something in response to or in spite of what other people want. It's my life, after all. And quoting, I also wonder if your intelligence is overpowering your animal instincts, blah blah blah, we must let our animal come out. And I say, I suppose I'm not a particularly impulsive person, but I think I'd know it if I felt sexual attraction toward someone. It's not that I'm repressing something. It's not that I'm logicking my way out of lusting. I just plain don't experience that reaction when I like someone. I'm not shy or repressed about really anything, so I think just randomly assuming my sex drive must be smothered by my brain would be a big leap to make. Quote, okay, one more question. I saw in your top 10 that you have had sex, and you did touch on masturbation. Have you ever experienced an orgasm? My response, I'm confused. I never said anything anywhere about having had sex. I have not had sex. I believe I was very specific about that. I don't know where you got the idea that I've had sex. It'd be nice if you enlightened me, please. Masturbation isn't something I've cared to do much of. It's not compelling. Some asexual people still have a sex drive and like to do quite a lot of this, but it's just not my thing. I could have an orgasm. My equipment works, if that's what you're asking, but nothing about it is attached to other people being attractive to me, and nothing makes me crave it. And then quoting, do you enjoy sensational touch, blah blah blah, do I like massages? And I said, as long as the person giving me the massage isn't doing it to be gross, and that has happened to me. I do like massages and back scratches and stuff. The person doing it has to be good at it and has to be gentle though. I'm pretty fragile and kind of bony, so I'm easy to hurt, and too many people seem to think massage means try to break our back. I tend to get a little uncomfortable if the person gets too close to me and ends up breathing on me or something. I don't like other people breathing on me. And quoting, I wish you all the luck in the world, even if you do not ever find your exoticism. And I said, I think I might need your help understanding the usage of exoticism in this sentence. Hope I've answered your questions in a satisfactory way. So that wraps that up. It's not the only time I've ever had somebody suggest that it's all about intellectualism and my logic overpowering my animal instincts, so to speak. But this is a relatively rare one. But at the same time, it tends to go hand in hand with, if you're at all like intellectual or you write a lot of crap online like I do, people will interpret that as evidence that you're very cerebral, and that goes hand in hand with not being in touch with your body for some reason. And, you know, I'll agree that I'm pretty cerebral. I mean, sometimes to my detriment. I guess I live in my head more than in the outside world. It's true, you know, and I don't consider that to be shameful or a fault of mine. It's just, I guess, I'm a little more introverted, a little more inwardly directed than most people, so I think about my inner world, I guess, more than maybe most people do. I guess I can't be sure of that, but you would think that for a person who spends as much time in their head as I do, that I would notice if there was any spark of interest of this sort. And people like me are also usually very curious. Like, we're a curious lot, and I wouldn't say that it necessarily goes hand in hand with seeking novel experiences, but there is at least usually an intellectual curiosity that goes with being an intellectual or cerebral person, which, you know, I'm not saying that with any value judgment on it. I'm not saying it as like a way to put myself above anyone, but, you know, there are some people who are they focus a lot on analysis and whatnot, and I am definitely one of those people. So, but yeah, we tend to be curious. We tend to be very interested in carrying out experiments in our lives and finding an objective answer. And in my case, that has been true in other aspects of my life, but this is not something that I've ever been curious about because of how sure I am that I feel the way that I do. And how you experience attraction is quite variable between people and very individual. So it tends to be an incredibly subjective experience, and I don't value objective over that in the world of analyzing sexual behavior or sexual attraction. I don't need anyone to prove that they feel the way they do or that they've experimented to anyone's satisfaction before I will default to respecting whatever they want to be called or however they want to be seen. So I really wish that people would not write me emails like this, even though it was relatively respectful, because there were several places in there where the person said stuff like, we have to let our animal out, or I wish that you would change. And to what benefit would those changes be? That's what I want to know. Why? What is it to you? What is it to anyone that I change this? They seem to think that I'm lacking something, that if I was not lacking that, my life would be enriched. But I really wonder whether they ever think about how my life is diminished by how much time and attention I have to put into having my personal convictions and my personal interests questioned every time I talk about what my experiences are. So whenever anybody comes at me with these kinds of questions, with a clear agenda that they want me to change, they wish I would change, they think I'm not having the full human experience if I don't, I question that because I don't really think it's about me. It's about them thinking they know what the objective human experience is and what it should include to be considered full and satisfying. And they perceive that I'm missing a part of it, that if I would consent to include it in my life would be enriched. But they really need to mind their own business. So that's where I'm going to end this, and thanks for watching.